Welcome to Kardec Radio. While you wait for our program to begin, check our new site. It's Kardec Flix, where Spiritism is just a click away. Also, check our publisher, Kardec Publisher, and its first 6 books. Each one is a journey to inner empowerment and love. Kardec Radio, where we nourish ourselves daily.
Welcome, dear friends, to Kardec Radio and another program on the Medium's book. Yes, we are studying the Medium's book, and that's new. We have so many studies at Kardec Radio. If you go to our YouTube, please like, subscribe, and share, because you do that for so many things that are so less important. Why not with this that can help so many people? And there you're going to see all the Spiritist books except the Medium's book. Now we have a team of people who have experience in mediumship, who are scholars, who study this book and have been studying for years, decades, sharing it with you. Today is my day. I'm back again, and I love to teamwork with all of you. Today we're studying about spontaneous physical manifestations. You know the noises. I'll tell you a true account. Yesterday, I was washing the dishes, and there is a lamp on the ceiling, a light bulb. It was on, and I was thinking about the Spiritist project to do as I was washing the dishes. Because when we do our housework, things with our hands, we need to occupy our minds with beautiful things. And then suddenly the light started flickering. And you see in our study today that Kardec says, when you see that, these spontaneous physical manifestations, you only know if it's just a physical thing or it's a spirit if you interact with your mind. So then I asked, are you flickering the light because you want to tell me that, yes, we should do this project? And the light flickered again. And I said, I got it. Thank you. And then it stopped. You want to know more? Come with me. Let's go. I have slides to share with you because this is chapter 5 of part 2. And I would like to share these slides with you because literally Kardec has a lot to help us in our daily lives. And here it is. Hold on a second. Here we're going to share with you. Whoops. There you go. Share. There you go. I'm going to share with you these slides. And in 30 minutes, we're going to cover chapter 5. All right? Thank you for joining us, friends. Ready? Spontaneous physical manifestations. Let's go. Remember, the Medium's book is about a manual for mediums and evokers. It contains 2 parts, preliminary observations. We've covered that already. Part 2, that's where we are. So the first 4 chapters and the next 32. In this part 2, we are on chapter 5. So join me today because Kardec says when we study, we overcome the difficulties in the practice of Spiritism. Chapter 5, Spontaneous Physical Manifestations. The topics to cover are noises, racket and disturbances, or raps, the hurling of objects, the phenomenon of the transportation of objects, apportation, and a dissertation on it. First thing Kardec shares with us, we need systematic observation. He says, carefully determine their reality through a detailed study of the circumstances. Detailed, thorough study of the circumstances, so they may assure themselves that they are not the objects of a simple illusion or hoax. Think about it. We don't believe just because we know it, because we observe systematically. What is a systematic observation? I remember when I was in graduate school, and there was this teacher teaching us about scientific observation. And she said, describe this room. And some people are like, oh, this room is so beautiful. It's so comfortable. And she said, that's not objective at all. Systematically, we need to observe what our senses can perceive without subjectivity. It happens every time I think of this. You'll see here in our studies that the physical manifestations that Kardec studied were ruled out by any physical glitchiness because of the interaction. You see, communication. Of all the spirit manifestations, the simplest and most frequent ones are noises and raps. But we have to be cautious, very cautious, because nature produces noises. Machines nowadays do so too. How do we distinguish the noise that is produced by nature, by machines, from the noise created by spirit? So, what are physical manifestations for? First and foremost, when we have phenomena, spirit phenomena, that produces physical manifestation, is there a purpose? And Kardec says, yes, to call our attention to something and convince us that a supreme human power is present. You may be thinking, oh, so we need a lot more of this to make people believe it. People may be able to see it and still they won't believe. Why? Because they're not reasoning it. Only if we pay attention, if we study it, if we observe it. Who produces physical manifestations? Who? What kind of spirits? Highly evolved spirits do not concern themselves directly with these manifestations, and that they use less evolved spirits to produce them. Okay? So a superior spirit's not gonna come and move the table and the chair to say, Vanessa, think about others, be charitable. No. But they may use low order spirit to say, yeah, go there. Why? Because low order spirits, less evolved, they have a denser perispirit. It's easier, not that spirits cannot interact with matter, but it's easier for them to produce such phenomena because of their proximity with the dense material world. Most of these spirits want to entertain themselves. They are frivolous spirits. So if you hear stuff, be careful. Caution. Don't be afraid. We're going to talk about fear very soon. And where are they produced? Where? So Kardec says, spontaneous manifestations rarely occur in isolated areas, but almost always in houses where people live in. Why? Because they need the presence of certain individuals to produce the phenomenon. Who are they? Natural mediums. What are natural mediums? They don't even know they're mediums. And we are all mediums, by the way. And you see that this phenomena happen more than we imagine. How does this happen? The spirits use our ectoplasm to manifest themselves. I remember once we came back home and we saw that in our closet, the rail where the hangers were hanging on fell, but it didn't simply fell on the floor. It's as if a fist of somebody bent it. You could almost see it. It's as if a person did it. And there was nothing on top of it justifying the bent. And the bent was not very straight. It had it's almost like the fist of a person. Somebody was angry. They probably used the ectoplasm of the neighbors to do it. Because it happens. When do physical manifestations stop? We want to know because Kardec says they're never comfortable listening to noises. Why? Because physiologically, we have the law of preservation, right? We don't feel safe. It's very phylogenetic. Noises, they create some form of alertness, a stress response. So quickly, we want to solve it, make it disappear. If you hear like boom, 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 you're like, can you stop it? Right? Because it causes that stress. But how do we stop it? When do they stop? One thing we know, they will stop, but when? After the purpose that generated it has been achieved. So the question is, we need to watch out for frivolous spirits because the majority of them will produce such phenomena just to scare us out, to laugh at us. And if you pay too much attention to them, like people who want to do exorcism and they bring the priest and the whole entourage and they laugh and they keep doing it, they become more persistent. So Kardec himself experienced it, and he says in that chapter 5, part 2, he was once studying to compile pages of some of the spiritist books that he was writing. And for 4 hours, he heard raps that sounded all around him for 4 straight hours. But remember, Kardec was not the type of medium. He was he had his intuition, but he needed other types of mediums, like writing mediums, to ask questions and get the answers from the spirits. So the next time he has a meeting, he goes there and asks the spirit, and he says, it was a familiar spirit wanting to speak to you. It was a writing medium. He was asking the question, the writing medium was answering. And the spirit pointed out errors in my work, says Kardec, indicating the exact lines where I could find them. That medium didn't know what Kardec was doing. So how could he, in this case it was a she, know, and especially the lines that Kardec was writing? You see the authenticity of it. So the superior spirits used other spirits like servants of theirs to go there, make the noises to say, no, 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 for 4 hours, okay? Until Kardec understood, oh my gosh, I better ask, or they're going to come back. They didn't come back because he changed it. These physical manifestations then will stop, as Kardec says, when it's no longer necessary to beat a drum to awaken soldiers when they have already arisen. So, has it ever happened to you too? You want to share here, you can. If this has ever happened to you in your life, let us know. It's good to know. It's very good to know when this happens. You can call us at Kardec Radio. You can email us and we can exchange impressions, because it is important for all of us to understand that we're constantly surrounded by spirits, dear friends. And they are going to be making themselves heard one way or another. All right? Okay, so let's go back. Let's go back. Now, here we are. What are the characteristics of these spirit noises? And this is very important to us. He's going to say something that only scientific observation can tell. First, these noises vary in intensity and tone. 2, reps are usually dry, sometimes muffled, weak and light, loud and distinct, and even noisy. And they change places. They're not in one location only. They may be everywhere. And they repeat themselves without any mechanical regularity. So we better pay attention. And that's why you may be asking, how can I control them? Well, Kardec says there is an effective means of doing so. And what is it? To subject them to our will if they respond to our thought. Like I said to you yesterday, I was washing the dishes, thinking about a spiritist project. And then the light started flickering. Everything was fine. And I was like, that's odd. Why is it flickering? Is it gonna burn? First thing I thought about physical things. And then it flickered. And then I said, oh no, maybe it's about what I was thinking about. It's the answer. So then I asked again. I asked, is this about the project and that idea? It flickered again. I said, thank you. And I expressed my gratitude to God for having the spirits telling us. And then it stopped, no longer flickered. We need to have that sense. We don't need to be afraid, because there is an intelligent cause, as Kardec says, for every intelligent effect. The best way of obtaining information is to evoke the spirits through a writing medium. You know, as a writing medium myself, I've been doing this for more than 2 decades. 2 decades and a half. I say it's very safe, as Kardec said, the writing mediumship, because you read it, you observe it, you analyze it. As he says in the medium's book, you analyze the language to understand what it is. It's harder to be deceived. Okay, that's the means. We analyze their responses to know who they are and act accordingly. So he has 3 options for us. If there is an unhappy spirit, what do? We give them charitable attention with a prayer. We can talk to them. Kardec has a dialogue with a spirit here that was throwing stones in a person's house. It's in the Spiritist magazine in Kardec's time. And the spirit's name was Janet. And he comes to a medium and asks, "Who are you?" And he says, "Why are you asking? Do you want me to throw stones at you?" By the tone, you know that this is not a happy spirit. Can be a deceptive spirit. So we need to deal with it directly, talking. And at the end, Janet says, because Kardec is asking, "But why you're doing this?" "Oh, I have nothing else to do. I wander around." "Oh, you have nothing else to do?" "No." And they keep talking and talking. At the end, he says, "You are nice people." And then he's rescued. Rescue work, conversing, talking. It's so beautiful. Imagine when on earth we have mediumistic teams prepared all over the earth. Our earth is going to be better because we're going to help the spirits who are wandering, don't know where to go. But what if they're evil spirits? Kardec says, in that case, we need to pray to God to enable the spirit to become better. Throughout the book Heaven and Hell, we see cases after cases after case, 66 cases. You can listen to them at Kardec Radio, watch the videos that talk each and every dialogue. So beautiful. Prayer always helps. Prayer always helps. These are Kardec's words, not mine. Prayer always helps. So should we be afraid of this spiritual spontaneous manifestation? No, not at all. Not at all. In these spontaneous spirit manifestations, we have the category of noises and raps, objects that move by themselves, doors and windows that are opened by invisible hands, and the disorder can be quite real, and they cannot be prevented. If they have to happen, they will happen. So the safest way to avoid troubles that can arise from this incident is to make the truth known. Look, the phenomenon that happened with the Fox sisters. This is a book that Kardec publisher published. May's team tell for children and teens a true account that happened in the United States of America, in the upstate New York, in the beautiful Hydesville small town, before Kardec started studying Spiritism. He hear reps. And then they start asking, "Who are you?" And through a system of communication, they get to know that it's a paddler named Charles Rosnan. He says, "Somebody killed me. My body is still here." So they start researching and they found the remains of the man. They buried him and he became a friend. Thanks to this story, Kardec got to know, Europe got to know of the spirit manifestation that also started happening there. Spiritualism and Spiritism came forth. In the Spiritist magazine by Kardec, La Revue Spirit, in his time, we're going to see cases after cases after cases. In the Spiritist magazine in English, if you go to the app, Spiritist magazine, or if you see the website, the 68 issues report cases that Kardec reported in his magazine, and you can read as well. One of the cases that he reported was of 6 sisters. They would go to sleep, and when they would wake up, clothes and objects would be all over the place, and sometimes they would be torn apart. And it happened time and again, time and again, time and again. And there were reasons why the spirits did this. We're going to publish that case in the upcoming issue of the Spiritist magazine for you this April 1st. And it's not April Fool's Day, it's the Spiritist magazine's day. So, these events are more frequent than one might think, says Kardec, but most victims keep quiet out of fear of being ridiculed. Has it never happened to you? Tell me. Tell me. Tell us the truth. Has it never happened? Of course, it must have happened. At some point in our lives, it happens. And what are we doing with it? Are we getting to the point of why this is happening? Let's pay attention. And a little more. He finalizes the chapter talking about this interesting, spontaneous physical manifestation that is named apportation. Apportation is a phenomenon where an object, let's say, an object that wasn't in this room, we see it coming in by itself without anybody physically holding it, right? Usually flowers, stones, and there are a dissertation by Erastus, who was Paul the Apostle's disciple. He participated in the making of Spiritism, and he has a whole dissertation about it. And he says that this phenomena of materializing objects that come from elsewhere, we call apportations, very rare. Very rare. They are very rare. They require great concentration from mediums. And they use mediums that are very, very sensitive. And not all spirits can produce them. Not all mediums can also produce them. Why? Because of the way apportations happen. There must exist a fluidic affinity between the medium and the spirit, and the perispiritual fluid of the medium mixes with that of the spirit who desires to perform apportation. And a vital fluid is indispensable to produce this mediumistic phenomenon. It's not simple. That's why we may not see it often, but it happens on earth to date. Breathe in and out, because I'll give you the ultimate tip that Kardec and Erastus share with us in this chapter. If you think Kardec is inviting us to start doing these experiments, I don't think so. He's just saying, pay attention if they happen because they're spontaneous. And if they do, ask for help from spiritist centers. You can ask at Kardec Radio. You can bring it to mediumistic meetings and ask. This happened. Is there a reason why? And if there's an answer, we'll share with you. But accept nothing blindly. That's the last statement by Erastus in a mediumistic meeting with Kardec, published in chapter 5 of part 2 of the Medium's book, because he says every fact must be submitted to a meticulous, in-depth, and critical examination. Saying that, dear friends, I'm going to ask you, do you have any questions? Read this book. I have it right here in the Medium's book right here. My phone. Look, it's right there. Accept nothing blindly, he says here. You can read it at your leisure. You can't sleep, read the Medium's book. You are having lunch, Read the medium's book. You're waiting for the doctor at his office, read the medium's book. Anywhere, don't know what to do, stop the scrolling up and down social media. Go read the book. Because when we read it, we discern more. We can live better and accept nothing blindly. That's the main lesson of this chapter, believe it or not. We hope you have enjoyed it. And if you have any question, feel free to write to us at kardecradio@gmail.com. Next week, we're going to have more from the Medium's book. The Medium's book by Kardec, which is a delight. Thank you, friends.